Hey y'all, it's Sarah and welcome back to my YouTube channel. You can find me on Instagram over at themagicalreader, and you can find my books on Amazon. Today's video is going to be a reading wrap up. I'm going to go through August and September just because I didn't read as much in September because I was wrapping up stuff with my job. I was moving back across the country. A lot of stuff going on. So I'm going to add August and September together, and I'm going to let you guys know what I read. Also, I'm wearing my Black Beak shirt, obviously an iconic reference to Throne of Glass, but yeah. So I'm going to try and get through this really quickly. I have been known to be a little chatty, so I'm going to go through all the books that I read in August and September, let you know what I thought about them. I don't talk about DNFs too much on this channel just because I know those books will find their own reader and I don't want to detract anyone from reading a book. Typically when I DNF, it's not because I think it was bad. I have pretty good awareness of my taste, so it's not like I'm not finding good books. I'm just finding books that might necessarily have me as the target audience. So I might tell you over on Instagram if I DNF a book, but nothing is with malice. It's just I did not finish it. So I think I finished, let me look at my list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 books over the last 2 months. I also started probably 10 more that I did not finish. And I DNF within like 20 pages, so it's totally fine. But yeah, so longest intro ever, as per usual. Let's go ahead and get to the books. Okay, so the first 2 books that I read in August and September were Twilight and New Moon. So I listened to these on audio and I am still obsessed. Like, I don't know what it is. I've always been Team Jacob because he was a lot healthier for Bella than Edward. But that's just my opinion. Also, I love Jacob in the movies. But yeah, I came back to these because y'all know I love to reread stuff, and it was a nice audiobook to listen on a long car ride, right? If you have, I don't know, 16 hours of driving, Twilight will get the job done. So I listened to Twilight and I listened to New Moon. I liked both of them. I'm reading Eclipse right now, and I forgot how much doesn't happen in the first half of Eclipse. But I love New Moon. I think New Moon is great when Bella is like, oh, I'm gonna get adventurous and start riding motorcycles. I don't know what it is about that, but I just think it's funny and entertaining, and Jacob is cool. So those are the first 2 books I read. Looking at my list now, I also read, I did a reread of Truly Devious, and the second one, which is The Vanishing Stair. Truly Devious is by Maureen Johnson. She's very, very talented. It is a YA mystery series that I absolutely love. Just really atmospheric and set at a Vermont boarding school. True mystery, so like clues and puzzles and all that sort of stuff. And I just really like the friendships, and I really like sort of how the author goes about telling the story. Her writing is very easy to, you know, just dive in and read a lot of. You could binge read these books pretty quickly, I think. So Truly Devious and Vanishing Stair are like a 1,000,000-star reads for me, and I will keep reading them till the end of time. Next book I read was The Many Lives of Mama Love. This is written by Laura Love Hardin, who is a New York Times bestselling author. She's also a New York Times bestselling ghostwriter and editor. And the book talks about how she went from being a suburban soccer mom to a drug dealing and money stealing suburban soccer mom to going to jail and her experiences there, and then how her life sort of turned out after she got out of jail. She's trying to get you know, her children back in her lives, and she's trying to get a job, and just how she's treated afterwards. And I thought it was a really interesting look at the United States justice system and the penal system, and you know what people go through after, you know, they make mistakes and they're trying to rebuild their lives. So I thought it was a really, really good memoir. I think it was a selection for Book of the Month. So if that's still an option for you, I would say it's definitely worth getting. It's very interesting, and it makes you think a lot. So Many Lives of Mama Love was super, super good. Next book was Finding My Elf. Finding My Elf was a book that I got on NetGalley. I don't really read Christmas books, and I don't really read, what are they called? What are they called? Contemporary romances. I just don't read them very often. But this one was so cute. So cute. And it is set in a mall during Christmas time, and it has just two lovely young gentlemen who work together at this mall, and yeah, it's a contemporary romance and it's super cute. It's YA. I don't know that it's gonna stick with me forever, but it was fun. It was a quick read and I really enjoyed it. So I thought that was a really cute one. So if you see that on NetGalley or you see it on Kindle Unlimited or anything like that, I would definitely give it a check for, yeah, a cute holiday sweet romance. Next book that I read was Unstoppable by Maggie Nichols. Maggie Nichols is widely considered to be the best NCAA gymnast of all time. She is also a world champion gymnast. She missed out on the 2016 Olympics due to injury and potentially other factors dealing with the abuse scandal that went through USA Gymnastics. I have been an elite gymnastics fan for 20 years, I guess. In the past 10 years of my life, I've been a significant elite gymnastics fan, you know, beyond just the 4-year cycle of the Olympics. You know, like we watch all of the competitions. And we watch college gymnastics and all that sort of stuff. I just think it's an incredible sport. And Maggie Nichols wrote her memoir, and I liked it because you could tell it was written by her. And I mean that with the utmost respect. It didn't sound like she was telling her story to someone else and, you know, they were writing it super, super polished for her. It really had her voice in it, and sounded like it was actually written by just a person who had perspective and not necessarily someone who's trying to make it the most polished manuscript you've ever seen. And again, I mean that with the utmost respect. Maggie tells her story very bravely. She is a survivor of the abuse scandal, and, you know, has testified before Congress and is doing a lot of work in the area of child advocacy. So if that's something you're interested in learning more about, obviously there's a million trigger warnings, but it's a very, very important story, and she does a lot of work in advocacy. So one that I'm very happy to read and support her journey. Next up, we have The 12 Dogs of Christmas by Susan Wiggs. She is a very, very, very popular contemporary author. She wrote this super cute dog-filled story for Christmas time. I got it as part of a book tour. I'm excited to post my review of that soon when my date is coming up, but it comes out in October. And it is a contemporary with a little love story in there, but it centers on a woman who is kind of roped into helping transport dogs for a dog rescue across the country right before Christmas. And it's very Hallmark movie. It's very cute, and it was a really enjoyable read for me at a time where I wasn't trying to do a million things. I needed something to read that was going to be simple and heartwarming and yeah, just like lovable and fun. So I loved reading it. I thought it was a really great book, and for those of y'all that love you know, cozy bookshop stories, animal stories, House by the Sea stories, y'all know what I'm talking about, like things that are just cozy and sweet and heartwarming, you're gonna absolutely love this book. So definitely keep an eye out for it. Next up, I read Migrations. I mentioned this in my last, I think my last video, my fall, no, 2 videos ago, my fall recommendations. Migrations is a literary fiction story that centers around the climate crisis and a woman who studies some of the last birds to exist on the planet entirely. It's entirely character focused. It has many trigger warnings for abandonment in particular, but the character really goes deep into her history. It has a fractured timeline going back sort of almost seemingly random dates in time. and then you kind of piece it all together at the end, why she's looking back at her history the way she is. Super interesting deep dive into her character, why she feels the need to leave, how she's been left, you know, sort of how that weaves into her history of loving birds and studying them in the climate crisis. This book will probably make you sob if you have any issues dealing with abandonment. And if you are someone who particularly is interested in the climate crisis, it's probably going to make you cry too. There is a lot of despair. There is a little bit of hope. There's a little bit of hope at the end. I'm not going to spoil anything, obviously, but there is despair and there is hope. So Migrations is one of the best books I have ever read. I would love to read it again now knowing what happens. Audiobook was super, super good too. Next book I read was Wildfire, which is by the same author as Icebreaker, Hannah Grace. Wildfire is set at a summer camp between two students at the university where Icebreaker was set. It starts off with a one-night fling, and then they end up working together at camp, and it's just such a sweet, loving relationship. And obviously I love romance stories of all varieties, but I love that this romance male hero in this situation was very sweet and very shy and reserved. Like, I love that about him, that he wasn't the same as a lot of romance main characters, especially males, main characters that we see. He wasn't stereotyped into a certain box. And I thought that was really cool, and he was really sweet, and yeah, his shyness was an interesting part of the story. So if you liked Icebreaker, I think you'll love Wildfire. You don't have to have read Icebreaker first. So if you aren't interested in Icebreaker, but you're interested in the setup of Wildfire, you can still read that one, and it comes out very soon if it hasn't yet already. I read an arc. I know it comes out in October, but I'm not sure if it's like now or later. Y'all know what I mean. Last book that I read in the month of September, and yes, this was a while ago, probably 2 weeks ago when I read this. I just haven't had time to finish a book since then, is The Brothers Hawthorne. And this book was A+. I am obsessed with The Brothers Hawthorne. I know I said in my bookshelf tour, I was like, this book has no business being as good as it is. So many people had things to say about this book when it was coming out. And a lot of people, you know, not malicious, but, you know, is it necessary? Could we just end with the final gambit? You know, is it a novella? What are we doing here? If you read The Brothers Hawthorne and you were interested in the brothers more than the main character, this is the book for you. I love Avery as the main character. I think she's really cool, but I think the brothers have this sort of like brooding backstory that deals a lot with mother issues and father issues and grandparent issues, that if you are interested in sort of their story, why they are the way they are, I think you're really gonna like this book. It has two separate sort of games going on at the same time, one with Grayson, and then one with Jameson, and they sort of go on their own paths. You see the other brothers interspersed a little bit, not a lot, but I think if you're interested in the brothers, you're really gonna want to read this one, and it's gonna set up the grandest game, which is the next one. I think it's gonna set it up perfectly. So Brothers Hawthorne, 1,000,000 stars. Okay, so absolutely loved it. And those were the 12 books, 12, right, that I read in August and September. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.